So how would these proposals impact on us potentially? Well, it's not clear what the implications would be in terms of a privatisation situation. Yes, TUPE would apply at the point of any transfer, as would the fair deal on pensions that went through in the pensions legislation quite recently. But we know from experience that when areas of the civil service have been privatised in the past, that it doesn't take long for a firm to look to water down those conditions of employment. And that could include things like redundancy payments, pensions, hours and leave, etc., pay itself and everything else. And we know from a GovCo point of view, and people will probably recall the early stages of management's spin in relation to the GovCo, that they said that the Royal Mint was a shining example. Well, upon them publicising that, we contacted our colleagues in the Royal Mint, who as a result of fragmentation from a number of different unions, Unite, PCS, Prospect, a number of other unions as well, it's created a 2 or 3 tier workforce. Because what actually happened is that when they vested the company into a GovCo, took it out of the civil service, they made a load of people redundant almost straight away. There was a complete void in terms of the work that needed to be done, and therefore people needed to be recruited to enable the organisation to carry out its functions. And what that meant was that those new people recruited were recruited on different terms and conditions as the people who had transferred from the civil service. And that creates a lot of anxiety, a lot of bad feeling in terms of certain people being on better terms and conditions. And that's the sort of thing I think that we can look forward to if GovCo was chosen as the model to go forward. Well, the e-action that we issued the other week is going really well. We've had in excess of 1,200 of those sent to MPs. That's going to culminate with a drop-in session that I'll be hosting in Westminster on the 26th of February. We've already had a great deal of MPs have already said that they're going to that meeting with us as well. And in addition to that, as a result of the publicity that we've managed to generate, we learnt yesterday that our parliamentary group chair, the MP for Hayes and Harlington, John McDonnell, has secured a Westminster Hall debate in Parliament on the 25th of February. And basically what that means is going to set the scene in terms of the consultation, make the arguments that we've put forward that the Labour Party are apparently agreeing with now, that Land Registry shouldn't be privatised or even removed from the civil service. There will be a debate amongst MPs, there will be a few that speak in opposition to it. I'll be there to enable John to formulate a right of reply, etc. All that is building the publicity around the campaign. It's going to increase awareness amongst industry professionals, and I think it's going to add confidence to everything that we need to do going forward. As I say, I've already written out to industry professionals. We've sent them the Roger Seaford report that we sent round to staff. We've written to lobby groups, and we'll continue to update them on developments, and that will include sending them a copy of the PCS submission at some point, hopefully during the early part of next week, and then that in turn will generate a further debate amongst them about their role in the future and get them to question the options that are on the table at the moment. We'll organise, if necessary, if the TOM is announced, etc., and it's a bad thing, we'll organise another lobby of Parliament as we did during the ATP process, which generated massive support for us and ended up, being a pivotal part of us winning key concessions during that period. We're already geared up, if necessary, for a massive industrial fight to add weight to the professional political campaigning that we've been doing and the negotiations that we've been having as well, recognising that all of these campaigning elements are greater, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that doing all of it together is the right thing to do. But of course we'll consult people on that as we move forward. So in conclusion, as I said, hopefully it's absolutely clear that retention of our civil service status is in the best interests of all of us, not only for our jobs and our offices, but also for the service that Land Registry has proudly provided to the public for the last 150 years. We're not prepared to let anybody ruin that. The management have conceded that their business strategy can be delivered within the trading fund model. It just requires ministerial approval of spending requirements to update systems, etc. And that can be done because we're not on vote. We're no burden whatsoever to the taxpayer, and we're totally self-reliant. But we need everybody involved in this campaign, including managers, because managers will get the spin from the board, be directed to try and toe the party line. But if that's the wrong thing to do, then we all need to make it clear, not just ourselves, but all of the managers involved in the day-to-day running of Land Registry as well. We'll continue to press for openness, and if necessary, the disclosure of the TOM proposals. If the consultation is to be open and transparent, something up to now that I think has been terribly lacking on the part of the board and the shareholder executive. We must talk to all our non-member colleagues and get them to join the union, because we are the only vehicle capable of making enough noise in order to change the state of play as we see it at the moment for the better of all of us and the service that we provide. And just on a concluding note, I think it's worth mentioning, what can we do? Well, we have really good form for this. We've been up against really detrimental proposals, probably none so that are on the same level as what we face now, but we have very good form for sorting things out. Now, the point was made to me the other day, well, what about the Royal Mail consultation, where 90% of the respondents went back and said that privatisation is a bad idea, but the government steamrolled it through anyway. And they're absolutely right to say that, and it was a scandalous decision that was taken on the part of the government to sell off what is a national institution, and hopefully that will be turned round in future parliaments. But the difference between the Royal Mail and us is that a lot of the key consultees in this ongoing consultation are industry professionals, and it's in their gift to make land registration work. Without them, land registration wouldn't work. We administer it, we guarantee it in terms of security and guard against fraud, but they are the ones that play an active role in that as well. And we've already seen that they're sceptical of the proposals going forward, and when we give them more information, they're going to be even more sceptical of those proposals going forward. So that, combined with our other political campaigning and potentially industrial campaigning, will mean that we will get a result out of this if we continue to act on a united front. So I think I'll shut up there and allow, because there was a massive amount of debate that we had this morning in terms of more detailed elements of it, but I hope I've given you a flavour of the situation at the moment, and that we can play a key role in getting this sorted out for the benefit of not only our jobs and our offices, but also the service we provide.